So what's up, everybody? Today, we got a very, very special episode. I wanna give a shout out to our friends from GCash for setting this one up. Really interested to have this conversation. My guest for today he's frequented the Fresh FausTalk household. He has been a part of a lot of our family dinner discussions, and now I finally get to hear from him firsthand, talk about his career, talk about that shift from corporate to family business, back to corporate, talk about goals. He is the AVP for Innovations and AdTech for GCash. We have Mr. Carlos Bauza. What's up, man? Welcome to the
Hello, hello,
show.
hello.
I find it
Happy to be
weird.
here.
I find
Yeah,
it weird calling you Carlos. Kasi, do you usually get called Carlos or no one calls you
um,
that?
you know how it is when you go into a new parang thing. You
Uh-huh.
always want to be like formal and like. And I don't get me wrong, I love my nickname.
Uh-huh.
But para for some reason it's my formal name, but nobody calls me that. Literally nobody. Only one person probably calls me that.
Even at work. You're Caloy at
Yeah,
work.
birthday. Yeah. It's much better. I don't know. It's a much better roll off the tongue, I guess. That's
Yeah.
what they tell than
But
Carlos. I don't look like a Carlos when I act the way. So mas kaloy daw ako eh. So
Yeah, I gets ko yun. Gets ko yun. Hindi ka na mas kaloy ka. Mas kaloy ka than Carlos. Um so even in school, even when you parang have to report or when you write your
yeah,
name, do you write Kaloy or Carlos?
I write my full name always.
Ah,
Juan
okay.
Carlos Bauza. So people call me JC, ganun yung
Uh-huh.
assumptions eh.
Yeah.
But it's super rare that somebody calls
Yeah.
me Carlos.
I
Super
think
rare.
Carlos is a name like Miguel na it's very common. Like a lot of people have that name, but sa lahat ng mga kilala kong Carlos tsaka Miguel, I don't call any of them Carlos or Miguel. There's
A
always
Mig,
another nickname.
you know.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
But
incidentally, my brother's name is Miguel.
oh,
No, Migs, Juan Miguel siya.
do you call
Tapos
him
Migs.
Miguel?
No, Kuya Migs. That's what I call him.
Mix. Okay, okay. Well, anyway, now we're in very interesting times. Naka parang 1.5 years na tayo. Almost 1.5 years in the pandemic. And I'm sure that you've experienced a lot of transitions, di ba? Example like this, having a call over Zoom, having that work from home situation. But now we're transitioning into something that people call hybrid working. So we're mixing the what we used to do before, yung lahat physical, and then we're mixing also what we did the past year na puro virtual. Like you from before we talk about the professional career aspect of it, like personally, how are you transitioning in this new medyo hindi pa post-pandemic medyo post-pandemic time?
So you mean transitioning from pandemic to not so pandemic?
Yeah, yeah. Kasi matagal pa 'to eh.
Okay, so we all know how, diba? I don't have to repeat the difficult things of
Yeah.
non-pandemic to pandemic of not seeing people, not being able to understand people properly when you're over Zoom, diba? But thankfully, parang now I think people are getting much more used to it, but it's still so different. I don't think we'll ever, or at least more modern companies or more modern people would never transition back to the
Full,
way it was before fully, at
yeah.
least not 100%.
Yeah.
So I think it will always, at the very least, be a hybrid, or it should be at least a hybrid. Even for my personal life, diba? Parang there's less reason now to not be caught up with your friends. Kasi before, the moment that you don't have an aligned time,
Mhm.
'di ba? Or an aligned date, you don't see each other.
Yeah.
Three-way calls, 'di ba? Wala naman ganun eh, right?
Uh-uh.
So now that Zoom is such a norm, you can just say, somebody can't make it. The four can make it and one can be on the iPad or
Yeah.
'di ba, on the phone,
Mm.
and you'll feel like they kind of are
Medyo
still.
kasama. Do you like it more? Do you like this setup more than pre-pandemic?
Uh, I'd say I'd say no. I'd still want parang people to have that face to face. Kasi I always tell people I'm an introvert, but I'm not an introvert. I'm an extrovert. Diba?
Uh-huh.
I get energy from seeing people. But this is my personal opinion. Na parang the less digital things are in terms of personal relationships,
Mm-hmm.
the better, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But when it comes to business, efficiencies, online ordering, safety, no brainer, diba?
Mm-hmm.
This was a long time coming, I think. Na who would have thought that the number one solution to Metro Manila traffic is actually work from home?
Yeah.
Walang traffic before, right?
Yeah.
Now that things are going back to normal.
Medyo meron na agad
Back,
eh.
man. It's back. I have a view of EDSA from my balcony, and
Yeah.
at right on time, 5:30 all the way to 7:30,
Uh-huh.
it's full.
Red lights lang. You mentioned your balcony, and that's something I wanted to bring up. You have your own place. Is this something that you really set out? You're 31 years old, you have your own place. I would imagine before, like if I talk to my grade school, high school self, I would imagine na baka mga 26, 27 pa lang move out na ako. I'm 24, I'm turning 25 this year. There's no way I'm moving out by 26 or 27. Did you expect to be in the place you are in now? 31-year-old you now, when if you talk to like your 15-year-old self.
I probably say no because it took a leap. So what do I mean? At the end of the day, you're never going to be 100% ready. Similar to getting married or having a kid,
Uh-huh.
'di ba? And the first piece of that is yun nga, moving out. Because you parang you can hear all the stories, both parang pros and cons of moving out. Pero you're never going to be ready For example, finances, 'di ba?
Mhm.
Your savings plus what you're making now, and you compute how much it costs to buy a place
Yeah.
in Makati, in Pasig, 'di ba? It's crazy in BGC especially, 'di ba? 'Di ba? You can get a 200 square meter house in New Valley or in maybe northern Quezon City, 'di ba? Or
Mhm.
like in Fairview or somewhere there for the price of a one bedroom in BGC.
Yeah.
'Di ba? That's
Yeah.
crazy. So parang it's really hard. It's really hard. But it's it's a matter of belief, I guess, in yourself, that takes it down the line. Obviously, we're very privileged also and lucky in a way that we're at a position where we can actually risk this.
Yeah.
Kasi let's not lie, 'di ba?
May
We
safety net
have
naman.
may safety net tayo 'di ba? Our parents work really hard to make sure that we don't figuratively want for anything, 'di
Mm.
ba? So essentially, parang you can still take risks, and some people don't have that. But I'm my message to that is, even if you don't have that safety, there's always a way, right? I started when I moved out initially. When I was renting a couple of years ago, 5 years ago, may dalawang roommate ako, di ba?
Oh, naging roommate mo kasi yung kapatid ko for a while, 'di ba?
Brother for half a year, di ba? Or a year, I think, yeah.
Mhm.
So parang there's a way, and there's just an adjustment you have to make. Diba? You can't have it perfect. That's impossible. You can't have
Yeah.
it like
Na you set your goals and then ganun talaga yung way
yeah,
to get it. Okay.
yeah, you get the place that you want at where it is, malaki, tapos wala kang i-adjust sa pagkain mo, sa pag-party mo, sa pag-shopping mo. No way, right? You're gonna have to sacrifice something, and there's always a way. You can find a place in BGC where you shack up with 3 people and maybe don't do milk tea, and you'll be able to rent it. I'm telling you, there's a
Yeah.
way. Commute ka, right? Bike, diba? So it's a matter of saying to yourself that I can do this, have a plan, be willing to adjust, and you'll be able to do it. So
Yeah.
so the answer is no. I didn't expect myself to be here. It took a lot of adjustment. But yeah.
I want to ask more about that adjustment, that whole process of figuring it out. You mentioned our parents, and that would be my frame of reference pagagi when I look at what I'm doing now. What was it like kaya? Kasi sila yung parang first ano natin reference point and source of all information. Pero yung mundo nung panahon nila sobrang iba. Like you can let's be real, if you have a decent job 40 30 years ago, you can afford a decent place. You don't need to make too much of an adjustment. So when I look at that situation, My dad was 27, my mom was 24 when they got married. And then they moved out. Then in a few years, they bought a house. Parang where I get confused is how do you draw the line between having that faith na mention mo nga, or just being kind of silly na wala ka pa masyadong concrete plan yet you're making these huge financial decisions. How do you sort of in the situation, at least in the situation you're in now, di ba? Wala ka pa namang, it wasn't the same na may pamilya ka na, may anak ka na and stuff. But you still have to sort of make the distinction between taking a risk and still being smart with your decisions.
Uh, from my end, what my personal technique is just, it's a simple computation. Eh. Parang, and your mom always, parang in my conversations with her, parang na-mention ito sa akin a couple of times. It's just look, and your brother also, di ba? Na parang looking at what you make, what you spend, di ba? And what you save or invest. Yun naman yung parang always the three parang key pieces that we talk about. And what people get stuck up about when they try to make big decisions is they focus on parang what they make.
Mm-hmm.
Di ba? And they just look at that. Parang, ay, masyado pa to maliit. Hindi ko kayang bayaran. So my parang rule of thumb is, once you're able to establish your own safety net. So what do I mean by your own safety net? Being able to have a certain advancement in your career. So, di ba? Ano ibig sabihin nun? Kahit magka-problema yung company mo, you're confident in finding another job or another source of income. That's my first. Kasi I don't like taking risks na parang baka mawala to zero.
Mm-hmm.
Never. So parang, for example, ako, I really started seriously talking about it when I became a manager. Or thinking about it pala, when I became a manager I was working in Globe then. So nung nag-manager level na ako, and I reached a certain salary, in my head, minimum ko na to. And because of everything that I learned from that company, sa tingin ko, pwede kong i-apply in X number of other industries. So confident na ako na makakahanap ako, even if it's a shitty job. I work in, sorry, I don't want to badmouth any industry, but if I work in an industry
that doesn't fit
I'm
you,
interested. I'm still making money.
Yeah.
Diba? And kaya kong bayaran kung ano man yung leap of faith na tinake ko. Diba? So it's really, that's why when people ask me for advice on what the priority is when you're young, talagang sa akin, learning. So leader learning talaga yung sa akin. Job fit and yung salary sa akin secondary.
Yeah.
Because once you get that, parang, yun nga, certain advancement and that learning na parang, I can fix problems for people.
Yeah.
I can work anywhere, di ba?
Yeah. I have one question from the two questions pa from what you just said. So yung basis mo kasi navigating these big decisions, and at this age of mga 20s people before they plan on moving out, it's very tough to make the decisions if it's all based on hypotheticals and potentials. But it could, I guess, using your example, it could kind of put my mind to ease a bit. It's not always just about the numerical value. It's not na once I have this amount of money, this specific amount of money, then I can make these decisions. Now, based on what you said, it's the skills. It's something that's not as, you can't put it in an Excel sheet masyado. These type of things. When you're young, you focus on learning, you focus on having, I'm guessing, good training, good work environment. Where do you sort of draw the line, like at least in your experience, up to what age, if you remember, yung parang yun lang yung main priority mo, na maybe hindi masyado priority yung number, yung how much talaga?
To be honest, and this is, I don't know if this applies to everybody. It's kind of weird also, but it's still my number one priority today.
Okay.
And everything just parang fell into place. Eh. And a lot of people say this, right?
Okay.
Na parang, if you're just focusing on learning and doing your best and being gritty, 'di ba? Uh, not looking at other people and focusing on your self-growth.
Yeah.
For some reason, nangyari siya eh. And you hear this from a lot of young people today. And this was me when I was young na parang, oh, I'm here overtime, making X thousand pesos lang. Bad trip, I'm gonna resign. Di ba parang to find another job. And that's normal. It's totally normal. And I don't want to, di ba, make that invalid for anybody because I went through that. And people just, yung I was lucky to have parang a friend and a kuya at work, si Carlo Valenzuela. He always just told me na parang, oh, tapos ano gagawin mo? May problema ka, ano gagawin mo? Di ba? How do you get yourself out of it? How do you pick yourself back up? Actionable ba sa yan? Kunyari, mababa sweldo mo, mataas sweldo niya, actionable ba? Kaya mo bang babaan yung sweldo niya? Di ba? Hindi naman eh, di ba? So, what do you do? Either you get something else from this job or you leave and find a better job that you want. So parang it's still under your scope of influence eh, to determine to them. And for some reason, nag-focus lang ako doon na parang I'll do it. Tapos biglang boom, opportunities came. 'Di ba? I got promoted. 'Di ba? Parang it's really I wasn't even focusing on getting promoted, but I got promoted. And kasama ng promotion mo obviously is salary correction, di ba? And all of that, di ba? So,
yeah. That reminds me of That reminds you of this movie, Three Idiots. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that.
Yeah, the Indian movie, right?
There's a good quote that said, don't chase something about I don't know the specific words. You don't chase success, you chase excellence, and success will follow. Parang you focus on. So you tell me until now, kasi at this early age, 24, when I first graduated college and I wanted to really earn from hosting, I was really focused on earning from hosting. So I kept looking, where can I get gigs? How can I? So lahat ng mga Facebook posts I'm gonna send, ganon. And it wasn't really working. I just felt like that's it's part of it, naman. And then recently in the pandemic, I focused on the podcast. I focused on getting better, and somehow the opportunities came. Parang the monetary aspect, parang okay pa naman ako. Okay, kahit na ito sa pandemic, like, I was still earning a decent amount naman. But where I'm at now, like, I mean, I can't say for sure na you just do that, okay ka na, finance-wise. Kasi there's a part of me that still feels like, baka chamba yung iba eh, na may pagka-imposter syndrome na, maybe, like, it was just this one company that got me. Baka naman, next year, I might be doing the same thing and sobrang iba yung result. Did it, for you, as you telling me na it's still your priority now, the growth, not necessarily the figure, the amount that you're making. Does that just keep on going, or is there a point where you can parang kind of clearly see na nga, like, this actually really works?
You know what? I don't know, di ba? I'm not there, so I don't know, and it's okay. But ito we have these conversations between me and I work in GCash now, so GCash leadership. Parang, there are days where we just sit down and say, grabe, hindi naman tayo marunong, masyadong maging expert in all of these new things that are coming up eh. Diba? And that's the nature of tech eh. Diba? The nature of tech is you really don't know what the customer would need or want tomorrow. You can be working on something on an assumption based on all the intelligence in the world. And then tomorrow it just flips over on your head.
Yeah.
Diba? Like what happened to Robinhood. Diba? And GameStop. Parang,
sorry, can you please explain a little more? What's Robinhood?
Robinhood is the trading app in the States.
Okay.
I didn't hear about this.
I come from a family of finance, pero hindi ako masyadong like, people just think I know all these finance things, but I don't.
Yeah. So this is what happened. So Robinhood, what they do is it's basically commission-free trading. Is what yun yung proposition nila. So that's why it's called Robinhood. Eh. So they earn a lot. Yeah, they earn a lot of commissions giving sell orders and buy orders and transaction orders to yung more established parang firms, trading firms in the States. So ito yung mga order, bigyan nyo kami ng cut. Parang ganun. So essentially, stealing from the rich, giving to the poor. Parang ganun, essentially. Tapos, they found out that a lot of Wall Street parang firms were shorting GameStop. Basically, the classic manipulating that price, di ba?
Yeah.
Tapos magka-cash in sila later.
Yeah.
Di ba? They'll swap it. There's this Reddit thread called Wall Street Bets.
Okay, I finally heard of that.
And they got everybody to freaking push the price of GameStop up. To the point na kailangan na magbayad ng ng payouts dun sa shorts na ginawa nila.
Mm-hmm.
'Di ba? Against the people who bet against the short, 'di ba? The people who did long. And nagkaroon ng liquidation problem yung Robinhood, 'di ba? They needed to start parang getting cash out. So yun yung point 'di ba? Parang you were doing something that you think was working and then boom, it suddenly changed. Yeah. That was, they even did something illegal. They got fined for this. They stopped the buy the sell order. Or one of the two. I just don't remember which one. But pwede mo gawin yung isa. Parang bawal mag-buy tapos pwede mag-sell. Parang ganon.
Okay.
Basta para
they manipulate. They parang interfered.
Oo, bawal yun, 'di ba? Para bumaba yung yung price. So, anyway, going back to my point. You don't know in tech, you don't know. Like, nothing against FMCGs, diba? Kasi they're really experts at their field. But they've been doing this for centuries. And there's innovation in it, but not as much as in tech, I would argue.
Medyo diba? Bago pa rin yung tech eh.
Oo, lalo na sa Pilipinas, diba? There are no parang real native, big apps that are purely like parang made by Filipino and majority owned by Filipinos, except maybe GCash and some others, diba? Grab is, diba? And Lazada, they're all regional players. Anyway, so the point is, going back to my original point on learning and growth, diba? Even the CEOs and the chief C-suite people in the tech companies here, we're still, figuring out and doing our best based on what the customer needs and wants. Diba? So that's where we're just doing our best to go back to our vision of democratizing finance. Diba? To all the Filipinos that aren't able to get a bank account. Yun lang naman yung focus eh. Yeah. And building products towards that. But at the end of the day, we don't know what's gonna happen in 2 years or 3 years or 4 years or 5 years. Diba? We have a plan, but so I guess you never figure it out eh. That's my belief. And John Mayer has a good song, di ba? Parang magandang song si John Mayer na ganyan.
What song is this?
Why Georgia? Di ba? Sabi niya parang...
What is the guy? I know the song.
Don't believe me when I say I've got it down. Sabi niya. Kasi nobody gets it down. Nobody figures it out.
Yeah. Okay.
So
but that's reassuring.
Oh, dude. You're never gonna figure it out. It's always gonna be, shucks, bahala na. I believe in myself. I did my best in protecting myself and whatnot. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, how do I do better next time?
Yeah.
Diba?
I think it just gets scarier, no? Does it get scarier as you get older? Kasi ako, 24, this is where you kind of start after graduating college. It's kind of where you start really, making the decision of like, okay, ano bang gagawin ko sa buhay ko? Pero if I make what gives me comfort is in 3 years, if I'm doing a totally different job in a totally different industry that's nothing to do with media, okay lang, I'm still in my 20s. But as you hit the 3 mark na, even if that's still very young, but coming from this from my age, for some reason we think that's old already. Does it get scarier?
Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Well, kabash mo naman yung kuya ko. So, I mean, from the
Tama
start
lang,
naman, may age gap tayo. Does it get scarier? Kasi, or does it get scary na, oh my gosh, parang I have more to lose na? Or do you get more used to it?
I think it will get scarier once I get a family.
Okay.
Because it's not just me. But generally, I think the fear kind of stays the same. You just learn to
Oh my
just
God.
live with it. Yeah. And when I say live with it, really live with it. What do I mean? Take that vacation, di ba? Parang, kahit naisip mo, shocks, may problema ako ngayon.
Uh-uh.
Don't forget to live, di ba?
Yeah.
Parang, don't work I don't live to just go to the office and get your paycheck, di ba? Gastusin
Yeah.
mo naman yung pera mo. Sorry, tita and
Yeah.
tito.
No, no,
But
no. I
like,
agree with that. And I agree na may balance din dun. I think um how I go about it, a lot of my challenges and problems. Example, I'm preparing for an interview with this big artist or someone na parang high pressure talaga yun. What I do is I do my research, and then kasi the thing is with preparing for interviews, you can never parang you can always do more research eh. You can always try to take more time. But at a certain point, parang if I've done my routine of preparing na, if I keep trying to make myself less nervous or less anxious about it, I might just be tiring myself out unnecessarily. Like I think there's a certain point with trying to figure things out you don't know. Na it doesn't help na. Na you should just like chill na lang. Like just let it happen and let it come. We were talking about mga financial decisions when it comes to the financial decisions of things that you don't really have a grasp on or you don't really understand. Did you have any parang mga tiny, di naman hacks, but parang tiny moves here and there, tiny decisions, maybe I should put my money here, maybe I should do this to sort of give you that calm, that ease of anxiety for you to continue making even bigger financial decisions?
so I didn't get a lot of financial, alam niyo naman to most of the Filipinos, di ba, hindi uso sa atin yung financial,
Yeah.
education especially coming from a young age. But as I reached my parang working stage, my mom magaling yung mom ko with finances parang the classic housewife that's really good, but di ba, really good at
Budgeting, everything.
budgeting and investing kahit na hindi ba siya technical. But she knows how to handle money. And then, obviously, I met Martin and their family na pinapaglitan kami yung dati na parang, oh, you have X thousand pesos just sleeping in the bank.
Yeah.
Yun, that's
I
one of
hear
it.
that. I hear that.
I have this friend, si Jert Santos, na parang early in my career, parang he kind of helped invest some of my dad's money. And I was just exposed to it. And then Google.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I guess a lot of my own research then to do. But to be honest, I'm in no way a finance expert. I just have a principle that I've read in a lot of places where generally you'd like to have a good balance lang naman of parang real estate, fixed return, low risk
Uh-huh.
funds or equities,
AKA
and
different types of investments.
diversified investment lang naman at the end of everything. It's hedging. It's the same as the way I approach work, 'di ba? Pag may target ako, I don't put all my revenue targets on one project, 'di ba? I always have some things moving on the side. And it's a good principle to have in general to hedge, and everybody does it, 'di ba? In all sorts of industries, even in sports, you
Mm-hmm.
always have to have plan B.
Yeah.
Diba? So, yun lang yung in my head. For example, itong binabayaran ko to from a loan. Um, pag ito hindi nangyari, yung expectation ko na inflow of cash, I can still cover it with this by adjusting this, or I can pull this out.
Mm-hmm.
Ganun lang. It's basically making sure that you're covered.
When I heard the word hedge, I immediately thought na, okay, so for yung mga listeners dyan, baka may na-intimidate na when with these different types of investment terms, and I'd like to reiterate na finances, this is something I've also heard, I mean, since the beginning of my time. Finances, and this is what I learned, finances, there are a lot of people who are gonna say, ay, wala akong alam dyan. Like, hindi
Hmm.
ako, finance savvy. And that's totally normal. Ako rin, hindi ako finance savvy. But the reality is, kahit wala kang interest sa finance, wala kang skill sa finance, you're gonna have to deal with it. You're going to have to manage your money, whether you like it or not. Even if your industry and your passion has nothing to do with the finance industry, you're still gonna have to deal you're still gonna have to deal with money. And you mentioned all these different parang do you have any suggestion, like for the everyday Filipino nga, who just like yourself, before you met those people and did all your Google research and everything, like where can you start in terms of um just kind the basic, the very, just to get in the door. I think that's the hardest part naman. That's the toughest things to get in the door and get into that practice of managing your finances well.
So yun, as I mentioned kanina, one point of it is a lot of self-study. But if you don't want to do that or you're intimidated on doing that, there are platforms naman out there that I think um, parang helps the case. Even on YouTube, you can search a lot. You follow FQ Mom, di ba? Yan yung mga small things that you do easily. Pero parang a couple of steps that you can make. And it depends na parang do you have a bank account or you don't have a bank account? I guess that's one main
Uh-huh.
question. But I'm assuming you don't kasi ano ba, 7 out of 10 Filipinos or 8 out of 10 I think are unbanked.
Really?
Yeah, something like that. Oh, a huge chunk of
Uh-huh.
Filipinos are unbanked. These people who don't have access to a bank account because kulang yung papeles nila, walang bank branch na malapit sa kanila, wala silang ID, yung mga ganung mga bagay na pwede nilang ipresenta or what, hindi sila nakakapag-invest eh. Right? So that's why I want to focus on that bit. Unbanked. Kasi sa tingin ko, they need the most help. Kasi it's not just about education to them eh. Minsan sa kanila, kahit alam na nila kung paano mag-invest, hindi sila makakuha ng bank account.
Yeah.
Hindi rin sila makapag-invest. Right? That's why a lot of platforms now are trying to democratize
Yeah.
investing, democratizing finance.
Yeah.
Right. So I guess one tip for me, obviously, if you could get a bank account, start with that because I think that goes a long way in terms of building your credit and opens a lot of doors for you. I was fortunate to be able to ride on to my mom's relationship with the bank. 'Di ba? Na parang
Same. My dad's relationship to the bank.
'di ba? Parang ano na may account manager ka,
Uh,
tapos ang dali ng mga transaction and you can have somebody present to you if this is my in life, ano bang magandang fund, 'di ba? Parang somebody can come in on a basic level to show you
yeah.
if you're a low risk, ganyan, 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 ganyan. Kung gusto mo, kumikita lang yung pera mo, ganyan. But I guess one way that I really, it's one of my favorite products and so I work in GCash now, right?
Uh-huh.
One of my favorite products is G Invest. So
This is in the app, diba?
it's in the app. So it's a part in the app. It's a product in the app that allows yun nga, the everyday Filipino to invest in
Mm-hmm.
not only local parang investments but
Yeah.
even global investments. So yung maganda sa kanya is you don't have to have a lot of requirements, 'di ba? You just have to have a GCash account basically and parang fill in your risk profile, 'di ba? So
Mm-hmm.
ano yung risk profile for everybody there out there na parang hindi sure is gusto nila malaman kung ano yung bagay sa na types of
Yeah.
products. Parang ganon.
I always like using the analogy of health, of fitness, diba? Exercise with finances. Kasi na-mention nga na even if somebody knows na you're supposed to do it, kung mahirap
Yeah.
gawin, diba? Imagine if, alam mo naman, everybody knows that if you wanna have a healthy lifestyle, you have to eat healthy. Like, you can't have too much junk. Pero, kung let's say you live alone, wala kang oras magluto, yung malapit na stores, fast food, like, you can't really blame that person if, like, it's gonna take so much more effort compared to if there's yung healthy food very accessible or may time naman siya magluto. So it's the same thing here in finances. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is I'm hoping that if there's anybody here that is in that situation, I hope they don't feel guilty, embarrassed, or bad na alam ko nga yung mga kailangan kong gawin with the finances, pero wala, hindi ka nagagawa. Bakit? Kasi wala akong masyadong excuse. But then yung nga, like, I got to do that and I got to try that also. I do acknowledge I'm coming from a place of privilege nga na yung family ko finance. So like, no matter what happens, kung may problema or whatever, I feel chill kasi parang lunchtime, sige, tanungan ko si mama, ano tong finance
Yep.
thing. But
Yep.
I got to try the G Invest feature, and it's pretty simple to use. And I think that going back to that risk thing, and the analogy of food and exercise, like, there are more than one ways naman. There's more than one way to get to your goal. Like, if you want to be healthy, you don't have to just do this one specific exercise or eat this one specific type of food. There are different ways. I think the one that's important is you do the one that's bagay sa'yo, something that makes sense to you, something that's very accessible.
Yeah, for sure. And people shouldn't feel too intimidated by it kasi parang it shows you naman ano eh. Parang it shows you a step by step as well on what
Yeah.
this means, what that means. At the end of the day, the goal is even if you get a fund that's not going, yun nga, people should remove this from their heads. Ah. If they think about investment, they're thinking of making money overnight.
Yeah.
Di ba? Na parang, oy, pag nag-invest ba ako dito, kikita ko naman yaman ako kagad overnight. No. Di ba? Parang, I think investing should be a long-term goal, and I
Yeah.
understand how this isn't as simple for Filipinos that are, di ba, less privileged.
Yeah.
But parang you're keeping your money under your bed or you're keeping your money in the bank na natutulog doon, 'di ba? Parang people need to start understanding that it loses value the longer it
Yeah.
stays there.
How I like to add to that. I want to add down to that, the losing value. How my family talks about it is inflation, and I can get into the statistics and numbers of inflation, but this is my example, and I think I can't get any clearer than this. Do you remember the Cornetto commercials na saan abot ang 20 pesos mo? It's not
Hmm.
20 pesos. It's the same Cornetto ice cream, but it's been like more than a decade. When I see it, I still think of hanggang saan abot ng 20 pesos mo. But this thing is like 36 pesos or more na
Exactly.
for the same
So,
ice cream.
so parang can't you just, you know, try it that you put some money na instead of losing value, it's giving you value kahit na konti.
Mm-mm.
Yun yung I wish people would understand eh, na there's a fund, there's like a money market fund in G Invest, for example.
Uh-huh.
And we all know money market funds are relatively stable.
Yeah.
It rarely goes down, di ba? Money market funds just go up bit by
Konti
bit.
lang.
Konti lang. But tuloy-tuloy yun. If you look at it from a 10-year, a 5 to 10-year horizon, tuloy-tuloy yun pa ganun eh.
Mm-hmm.
Di ba? I've never seen a money market fund na
Na,
gumanon
oo,
sharp.
oo.
Right? Uh, and that's for people who, yun nga, don't want to take too much risk and just want their savings to grow.
Mm-hmm.
And outside of that, di ba, parang kung you already have that and you're looking for something to make you more money and you're okay to lose some of that money in the short term, they have the global
There
funds.
are other options.
There are other options, di ba?
Yeah.
Like the way they tell the stories, parang you can invest in Apple or Google, di ba?
Mm-hmm.
Using that. It's really cool, di ba? Imagine an everyday Filipino, a janitor, for example, or jeepney driver, or di ba? Anybody can
Can be an
do it.
investor.
Right? For as low as like, I think the minimum investment is $50.
Yeah.
50
50.
Parang,
And,
it's really cool. It's really cool.
yeah. And last thing I'm gonna add on that, I want to ask you. I wanna ask you about something else also. Is that it's very intimidating. Finance is very intimidating. I keep reiterating this, that even if people are always going to say, hindi, anak ka naman kasi ni F you mom, ganun. It is intimidating. And I think once you kind of remove that intimidation factor, imagine going to a gym na puro batak lang yun nandun. I wouldn't really want to go there. But if I see some people who kind of look like me, mga mukha kang average fitness level, di mas nakakainganyo. So yun, yeah. So if you guys just haven't checked it out, just check out your GCash app if you don't have it yet. Very simple to use. We were talking about the transition and figuring things out before you were in this position that you this professional position that you were in. You worked for your family business, and before that, it's corporate. So what I hear from the different stories of my friends, my brother's friends, is for the people with a family business, yung career trajectory path nila usually, diba, is magtatrabaho sila for a few years because they want to get training, they want to learn, and then contribute it to the family business, and then come back. With your unique situation, you went corporate, then you went family business. One could assume na dun ka na. Tas you're back na in corporate. Like, could you talk me through that whole process?
Okay, so basically, uh, I was working in Globe then, right? I stayed in Globe for around 5 years doing marketing for Globe. And then, parang my mom and my dad, had a conversation with me to like, hey, you want to think about, helping out with the family business because we want to retire soon. Parang yun yung message nila.
Mm-hmm.
So it was really a need for me to check it out. Parang naisip ko rin naman, I was 5 years working in anywhere is no joke. Diba? It working hardcore, even if I say that I'm gritty or I'm learning or whatnot. At the end of the day, you need some parang rest. And selfishly, I took that initially na ang primary objective ko is to take a break and not to 'di ba, primarily help my parents. But part na yun nung decision.
Parang nasama na siya sa mga, if I do this, if I take this path, I get to do this.
Oo. Imagine before I was paying rent in Taguig, 'di ba? Tapos everyday yon drive. So pag nag-move out to my family business, sabi ko, match my salary and everything. Tapos yung office namin is across our house.
So you move back?
Oo, 'di ba? Parang I would save money.
Yeah.
'Di ba? I'll save money and then parang I thought I would be taking a break at least, 'di ba? I would be helping my parents. Pero dude, when I got there, so okay lang. Gising ako ng 8:50, shower, tawid. It's a totally different monster. Like people who say that being a family business is easier than corporate. It's not. It still has its own pros and cons, 'di ba? For example, wala ka na mapapagtanungan, 'di ba? Coming from a corporate background, I wasn't the stupidest person in the room anymore. And I loved being the stupidest person in the room. Kasi natututo ako.
Okay.
In corporate, 'di ba? I always look for people smarter, better people than me. And that's a good piece of advice for young people. Don't be sad to be the dumbest person. Ask the dumb questions. Kasi that's the only way you learn eh. Pero pagpasok dito sa family business, putya, ikaw na.
Yeah.
Diba? Parang walang masyadong formal structure, walang documentation, email. So people were like, he said, she said. Tapos, parang ito nire-record, manual, nakasulat sa papel. What? Parang, it's so foreign to me that parang may mga ganun pang nangyayari. So,
hindi siya parang one department you have to focus on lang compared to when you had your corporate job na medyo mas set yung mga rules.
Yeah. Wala. Sobrang walang structure. Like, it was just my dad and my mom making decisions. But to be fair, it worked. 30 years operating that company, very successful at that. Ang galing nga eh. Parang imagine where they would have been if you put the structures there. Di ba? So yun yung ginawa ko. Parang my first job was to like establish, simple lang, email. Para lahat ng paggawa, lahat ng anything, lahat ng is i-document mo, 'di ba? Walang and then policies, lahat dinocument ko.
Yeah.
Tapos our company kasi is a painting contractor company, so we work with a lot of painters, 'di ba? And then to be fair, marami kaming painters na matagal na talaga sa amin and we really take care of them. Like when one of our painters now has been with us for 20 years. When he retired, parang we gave him a big parang nest egg or a parachute, di ba?
Is
I
that what
wouldn't
you
say
call it?
golden.
The
Golden parachute.
retirement.
That's what you call it
Okay.
when you're retired. Pero we didn't give him naman a golden parachute, but we gave him something to help him. And then we continue helping with his daughter's tuition and whatnot. Kasi parang gano'n. Pero informal din yun lahat ah. And I
Yeah.
think they're talking to your brother now about establishing a retirement fund. But anyway, uh, with IFE. But anyway, yung point ko lang is mahirap siya. And dealing with people who are of that mindset, yung I would call them, we love them, yung mga painters namin. Pero sometimes you get some bad eggs din. And in anywhere you work naman may ganun na parang nanggugulo lang, parang papalibor ka, papatulfo ka. Even if you did everything properly.
Oh, you've had those, ano? You've had those complaints na?
Yeah, you get a lot of it. You ask
But has it
any of
ever,
them.
has there been an episode? Has there ever been a,
No,
hindi
no, no.
naman.
Kasi, like, with all due respect to Mr. Tulfo, parang, they aren't enforcing agency of the government. Eh. So, they can't make you do anything. So, it's really trial by social media.
Yeah.
Diba? And to some extent, they do help some people. God bless them. But they're doing this for money. Don't get me wrong. Diba? He's the number one YouTuber in the Philippines.
Is
Right?
he?
Props to him. Dude, he's making a ton of money from this.
Wow.
Idol ko siya in that regard. O the business regard. And the
Galing.
fact that he's helped some people, great. Obviously, I don't agree with having it as the first solution all the time.
Yeah.
Diba?
Pero para the people na, if wala ka tayong connection, wala ka tayong ibang paraan.
Oo eh. At the end of the day, may natutulungan pa din siya eh. Diba? So,
Yeah.
so I just give him that. I went to hearings, diba? I went to, oh, kasi it's the craziest. You know, it doesn't cost anything to file a labor case. So they just
And
do it.
anyone can.
Yeah, anyone can. So, kunyari, meron akong nakipagsuntukan siya. We suspended him. Tinurte niya kami itulfo, tsaka nag-file siya ng labor case. So, nag-hearing kami, pinakita namin yung statement ng safety officer ng site na pinirmahan niya that said, nakipagsuntukan siya. So, obviously, the labor guy was like, oh, what's this? Nakipagsuntukan ka naman pala talaga. Diba?
So, ito, family business only experiences to.
Yes. And there's nobody else to do it. It's you and the lawyer.
Yeah.
Diba?
Oh, okay,
Tapos
yeah,
pare,
that's tough.
yung mas mahirap pa dun, pandemic.
So
Dude,
everything is more complicated.
when the pandemic hit, I was in the middle of the family business. How do you do that to the construction site? Diba? Nag-establish ako ng rules pa. Like, ako yung nag-type up ng nag-research ako ng WHO. Ano bang standards for construction sites? Diba? Dude, family business only thing that there's nobody else is gonna do it for you.
Yeah.
Your job is everybody's job.
Your job is to figure things out.
Your job is to figure things out.
Wow.
For anything. So, yun yung main difference eh. Pero, relax ka kung gusto mo mag-relax. I guess yun yung isang thing, di ba? Parang, you own your own time. Parang, I don't feel well today. I'm going to stay at home.
Yeah.
You can do that, di ba? Kasi, kahit pa paano 30 years na nag-operate yung company.
It's
just you making it better. So, there can be days where you don't want to make things better.
Pero, parang, it relies on you. The progress, di ba? Of the company relies on you.
Yeah, to ensuring the future of it, relies on you. Kasi, growth na yung pinag-uusapan mo eh.
Yeah.
Di ba? Your parents won't give you the shares na upfront na parang, ito na yung shares namin. Hindi naman ganun eh. Di ba? So you have to figure out to make it bigger such that you get that chunk of that growth for you.
But behind the actual work that you're doing, I think this is unique to family businesses. There's an added pressure that people in your situation had to go through. There's a term is COO, child of owner, small family business. Yeah. And that's one I think it's people can assume na mas madali yung family business because the situation you're in, if it's a family business, you could be in that situation regardless of your performance in school, regardless of your skills. So you can have the most qualified person for the job with that position, or the least qualified person for the job with that position, but they can still get the same criticism of nandyan ka lang kasi anak ka ng owner. So before before I ask you about how you prove yourself to the people you're working with, in your brain lang, in your own head, what is your mindset with dealing with that every day on the job?
I knew I had to prove myself, diba? Um, and that's the reason why I didn't get into the family business before I reached a certain level of
Okay.
working. Gusto ko naman may contribution naman ako, hindi yung sa sweldo lang ako. Diba? So when I got in, there was a lot of self-study. Inupo ko talaga yung ano namin, yung chief engineering guy namin,
Mm-hmm.
inupo ko yung HR namin, lahat tingnan ko ano man nangyayari dito. So I learned it to a point that I was able to give them recommendations na, even if I was not an engineer. I go back. The skill is problem solving, guys. If you need to figure out that skill for yourself, find a way to articulate problems, meaning know what the root cause of the problem is, and yun nga, and find recommendations to solve it. That's life in me. Sa tingin ko.
Yeah.
Just figure out how to do that and it'll be okay. What's the problem as a solution? And any work, any type of work, you can do it.
Yeah.
And I'm confident to say that if you put me in an industry that I have no idea, na wala ko experience, give me 2 months, a month or 2 months, I can figure it out because it's all about solving problems, diba?
Yeah. And I want to add to that solving problems thing. This is connected to solving problems, but outside the it being in a work atmosphere. I read in a book that like happiness is gained after you solve a problem. There are just so many ways of how a problem is designed or how it looks like. A reason why a lot of people love video games. It's because it's a very enticing problem solving situation. Like if you're Mario, you have to solve the problem of getting to the end of the stage and not dying. Like it's almost everything in life is problem solving. That once you solve a problem, there's just another one that's gonna come up. So the same way how it can be intimidating to get into your finances, just gotta do it. And if it might be intimidating to face problems, you gotta do it. You're gonna be happy if you solve those problems that have been coming up in your life. With last thing I want to ask that when it comes to setting your goals, kanon, what's different from your mindset now that you have your own place? Wala ka pang, di ba, you don't have a family yet naman or anything. When it comes to setting your goals, whether it's professional, whether it's personal, have you taken a different approach now? Kasi we talked about how you're really gonna be clueless. You're really gonna have to figure things out. So if you were younger, baka it was more of like, I want to get this car at this age. I want to have a house that's this big. I want to have this much money. When you make your goals now in the position that you're in, has it changed? How do you do it?
I'd say my goals now are so very similar pa rin yung process. I'd say. And you still have that practical side. And those goals are still there.
Mm-hmm.
Personally, I don't really have car goals, but more house goals. Lalo na dahil kay Home Buddies, shout out kay Home Buddies, grabe ka. Diba? I dream of having my
Is this a
own big.
vlogger?
You don't know Home Buddies, Anton?
No idea.
Oh my
People,
God.
I don't want to get into that. Honestly, I also don't want to get into parang looking at really nice houses and stuff. Kasi alam
All
ko,
the
I'm just
listeners
gonna
out
stay here
there,
pa for a few years eh.
I know all the listeners are hating on Anton right now for not.
I'm sure my parents know. Home Buddies. Okay, I'll check it out. I'll check it out.
Dude, it's a Facebook group. Just check it out.
Okay. Sige.
But anyway, I really want to be able to build my own place for my family in the future. So all of that regular stuff is still there. It just expands to things that I think that I didn't think mattered as much before, but I think matters as much now is experiences. While you invest in your future, your house, all the practical stuff, also invest in experiences because life is short. And this is so cliche, but freaking life
It's
is
true.
freaking short. Super bilis. I'm 31, dude. Diba? Parang kahapon lang, we were playing basketball in front of your house. Di ba? Parang now I'm 31. Di
Yeah,
ba?
tagal na nun.
Tagal na noon. Di ba? Kala mo, ano lang yun. But like, at the end of the day, yun nga, life is short. So, I'm planning dive trips. I'm
Yeah.
planning, di ba? I'm going to Anilao as much as I can. And then, uh, I have goals to, weight goals, dude. Working out.
Mm-mm.
Yan, yun yung mga talagang key. Self-improvement. So, outside of that, so never forget. Kasi, some people trade it off eh. Dahil gusto nilang magkabahay, hindi sila magbabakasyon o kaya sobrang bad na ng health situation nila, hindi sila tutulog. No, di ba? You have to learn how to balance all of those three things.
Yeah.
And ito, classical line ng mga insurance people. May malaking bahay ka nga, pangit naman yung health mo.
Mm-mm.
Di ba? May pera ka nga, hindi mo naman ma-enjoy kasi nasa hospital ka, treatment ka. But so, always never forget to invest in experiences and your health. So, yun yung nag-change. So, na-expand lang yung goals ko
Yung
to
goals,
that.
yeah. And last thing I'm gonna say about this, and by the way, may quick game tayo to end this episode.
Sige.
All of that and all the goal settings and all the figuring out where you should bring your life, your career, you're never really gonna fully know. Like you're never gonna be 100% sure before you make any decision. You just have to you have to be open to figuring things out, be open to not knowing the situation you're in, and just kind of accept it. And it's gonna, I guess it's gonna keep continuing yung until you get old, until I don't know, until forever. Yeah. Okay. We're gonna play a quick game to end this episode. So Tito Boy has his fast talk. Ito, here on the Anton on One podcast.
Fast
We're
talk.
gonna play
Okay.
FausTalk. Ito, dito na, medyo iba naman. So, same, I'm gonna ask you a question. Answer me as honestly as you can. And the first thing that comes to your head, no wrong answers, and answer it just based on how you interpret the question. Game? Okay. No, hindi naman masyado serious. Okay.
Oh, biglang
First,
2x plus y. Hindi, joke lang.
ayoko na yung mga ganun. Okay.
Ah,
First question. 3-point shot or dunk?
3-point shot.
Okay. So, be the best player in the PBA or make it to the NBA but never play a minute.
NBA. I hate the PBA right now. I hate the PBA right now. Let
Yeah.
Keeper go. Anyway.
The parang you can
Batman.
be you're gonna be banned from the league if you don't sign your
Stupid.
extension or
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah.
Man, but it just because we're here in the basketball. I am excited for the next 2 years, like seeing all these young talent getting.
Did you watch the qualifiers?
Oh yeah,
Shucks, dude. Tab.
grabe.
Good
Ateneo de
tab.
Gilas.
Yeah. Anyway,
Okay.
Dwight Ramos is my
Yeah,
man right now, dude.
yeah, and also when I mean, kahit hindi ko naman sila masyado friends. Like, tipo sino Mike Nieto, I'd probably say hi to him if I see him. But when you watch them on international stages, diba, parang feeling mo kamag-anak mo eh. Like, as if, pinsan ko yan, diba? Or kapitbahay yan. Ganda. Okay, next question. One main job or many side jobs?
One main job.
Okay. Are you someone, do you like the stability?
Stability is okay, but I'm very open to ambiguity also.
Mm-hmm.
I can't say that I enjoy it necessarily, but I can deal with it.
Uh-huh.
But obviously, being in a stable place lets you do a lot more things na hindi necessarily trabaho. So you can have this baseline. It's ikaw pipili ng ibang mong ginagawa. The other one kasi you might not have enough time for doing a lot of things.
So is this like where example? So you're back in corporate now. The difference with family business is you're doing everything.
You're 24/7, dude.
Yeah.
Family business.
And is this how you found the balance? That you get to do your diving trips, you get to experience life. Kasi in your job, you kind of parang mas controlled where you're gonna put your attention and time and effort to.
Yeah. So that's one part. But I can't say I won't go back to family base.
Mm-hmm.
I might. Diba? and the plan is to in a couple of years. But
Mhm.
parang right now, I guess the answer is yes eh. Kasi kahit na marami akong time before, for some reason, hindi mo rin maiwanan eh.
Mhm.
'Di ba?
Mhm.
So, yeah. Thankfully, the culture in the company, so we're hiring guys. If
Yeah.
anybody, mga bata rin gustong mag-work sa GCash,
Yeah, expanding, no? You're
find
expanding.
me on LinkedIn, let's do it. Is that ang ganda ng culture. There's a lot of balance in the company
Mm.
now. Uh,
I want to
so
ask you one thing about balance. The last episode I just had, it talked about work life balance and how work life balance, I think, might not be the best term. If you say work life balance kasi parang sineseparate mo pa yung work, like when it's time to work, this is working time lang. When it's time for life, this is like that's the only time I'm living. Like umiba na ba yung I think in the pandemic also helped. Umiba na ba yung perspective mo in that in the sense of how you separate the time you spend working and the time you spend not working, or has it become like just 24 hours in a day and you're just doing things, some just happen to be about work, some happen to not be about work, but they're all just like they're just activities in the day.
uh, I'm very passionate about what I do. So parang I don't necessarily separate it. Like there are times where because I enjoy it eh. I enjoy what I do eh. So sometimes kahit na I'm on my leisure time and I find something that's work related and it's interesting for me, I read it and I apply
Mm,
it. So swerte lang din ako eh. That's why I always say, yung sabi ko kanina, it falls into place eh.
yeah,
Parang, ewan ko eh, parang nangyari to eh. Parang, hindi ko naman
yeah,
pinlano to na ganun ako tapos I'm here. It was just yun nga, I just did my best and I was nice to people. That's it. Yung pala, di ko
yeah.
nasabi kanina, always be nice to people. Regardless.
Uh-huh.
Even if they're kupal to you, be nice to them.
Yeah.
And I learned that the hard way. Marami ako inaway.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. That those are words of that's a very accurate word. I love that quote. Be nice to people kahit kupal sila sa'yo. That's
Oh,
true. Kasi
oh.
ikaw pa rin yung talo eh. I mean, kung if you end up
Oh.
not being nice,
Patulan
diba?
mo siya.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
And being nice to someone doesn't necessarily mean you allow them to step over you, ha?
Yeah.
You can just be like, okay, are you done? Without shouting. Diba?
Is there any story that pops up ba in the top of your head?
Oo, dude. Like, when I was young, ano ako noon? Like, I was super young. Maybe assistant brand manager, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Tapos I was super pissed kasi I was not being paid well and my role was 2 levels up. Gets mo? Yung rank ko mababa pero yung role, yung responsibilities
Yung
ko,
ginagawa mo,
I
pang
was
ano
filling
na.
in for 2 levels up.
Ah.
Tapos may isang pumasok na director na I didn't have any faith in him kasi galit ako sa lahat ng bago pumasok eh. Kasi galit ako sa situation ko eh.
Okay.
Parang he was asking help from me. Tapos parang sinabi ko sa kanya, eh ba't hindi mo kasi alam? Ginanon ko siya, dude.
Na mas
Kasi
mataas sa'yo.
oh,
Do you know how
dapat,
old you were here?
shit, your age maybe.
Oh my
I
gosh.
don't know, 26, ganyan,
Uh,
27. Sinugod ako sa cafeteria, dude. Pinigilan lang siya. I was like, oh shit.
oh. Wait, so
But
what happened after that?
I apologized.
Ah, okay.
I realized my mistake. And then
Yeah.
I realized that if you're in a bad situation and you're pissed at everybody and you're getting mad at new people coming in, dude, one good way to deload yourself is to teach that person how to do his job better so that your job can be easier.
Yeah. And I think that
You-
if you're angry at if you notice na madali, I'm guessing if you notice na madali kang magalit sa mga the people you work with, it might be something with yourself. Eh. It might be parang you
Yeah,
might it's a symptom of like a deeper issue that you
yeah,
have with
and it
yourself.
was, it was, di ba? So,
Okay.
yun, thankfully, may mga taong tumulong sa akin regarding, gave me feedback.
Mm-hmm.
So, for all the young people out there, don't take feedback the wrong way. Feedback is always okay, whether it's the right feedback or the wrong feedback or whatever you
Yeah.
don't believe in. Just take it. Huwag kang magtatampo. Kasi you can't invalidate how people see you or how people, react to
Yes.
what you do. Because that's the way they felt. Right
Yeah.
way or wrong way, that's the way they felt. So all you can do is either align with them better on how to talk to them or adjust something within yourself. Diba?
Yeah. sa'yo na yung parang how you're gonna react to it. Are you going to change the way you do things based on what other people said? Pero the accepting of and listening to feedback, I think it's crucial, again, for whatever industry you're in. Okay, next question. Set specific goals or go with the flow?
Go with the flow, for sure.
Okay. Nice, nice. Ito, last few questions. Um, I wish my 25-year-old self knew ... Sorry, fill in the blank pala to.
That's a tough one. Sige.
Go, take your time, take your time.
Sige. So I just go back to I wish, or I hope, I had hoped that my 25-year-old self parang sige, parang sana alam niya na there's more to life than money. I guess that's my advice to him.
Yeah, that's nice.
Way more to life than money. If you're having second thoughts about going on that trip with your friends because you're saving up for your kids' tuition, dude, that's so far off.
Yeah. Wow. That's comforting. But then the FQ son in me has to say na I totally agree with you. There's more to life than money, but you can only start prioritizing those other things if okay ka. Parang kung may set ways ka na if may, diba, you have systems in place, may habits ka na of saving and investing, then it doesn't have to just be about the money. Pero
and you adjust that goal to what you want. You understand? The amount of money you need to save is directly correlated to what you want to achieve in your life. So kung masaya ka nang minimalist house na 50 square meters or living somewhere in the province, diba? You don't need to have so much, diba, in the bank.
That's true.
Diba?
Okay.
So it really depends on what you want.
Last question. It's not related to career or anything. But this has been asked a lot then by Tito Boy. I like shocking my guests with this. Mahal mo o mahal ka? This is the last question.
Di ba pwedeng di ba pwedeng
Siyempre both gusto natin lahat.
Both. Pero dapat sasagot.
Okay, kung isa lang.
Kung papapiliin ako, sige, mahal ko na lang. Yun na lang. Okay lang naman sa akin na ako yung pabig.
Okay.
You reach a point where like, okay, parehas lang naman.
Yeah.
These are just details.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, Caloy, thanks so much. I know it's a great, refreshing experience to get to hear from the horse's mouth, to hear all these things, and wishing you all the luck. And I hope you have a safe dive trip. That's happening later, diba?
Yeah, we're leaving tonight.
Yeah, sabi ni kuya ko. Yun. Okay. Do you have any last words of advice nga for yung mga fresh grad from college, mga early 20s, trying to figure things out as you are still figuring things out yourself?
Just guess summarize the key points that we spoke about kanina. Parang yun nga, number one, don't forget to invest in yourself and experiences, right? Outside of all the responsible stuff that you're doing. Secondly, be nice. Guys, be nice to everybody. No matter what. Don't be kupal.
Kahit kupal sila.
Be nice to them. And then the last one is yun nga. Have some grit. And it's not a shout out to a certain generation. I don't like generalizing or stereotyping, but for me, the most important feature in a person is really grit. Right? Make fast mistakes, learn from them, get back up. Diba? Kay Dwayne Wade. Sabi ni Dwayne Wade.
Fall 6
times. 7 times, stand up 8. And so grit is for me the single most valuable key thing that you can have when you're a young person. Grit.
Yeah. Okay. All right, that's it. Thanks again, and yun nga, I hope I get to see you soon. Hopefully.
Sure, soon, bro. Once we get our second doses, we can play hoops,
Yes,
something.
sir. Yes, sir.
I miss ko na nga.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank
See
you.
you. Thanks, Anton.